Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Wednesday morning, guys. I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. Got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Wednesday, guys. So I want to piggyback off of an email from a young lady who emailed me. To summarize her email, she's going through heartbreak. Not sure if it's her husband or her boyfriend, but she's going through heartbreak. He left her for someone else, and she's been very, very faithful to him. She has also said she's built him up. Like basically when they first got together, he didn't have anything. He was going through a rough patch, rough season, if you will. And she really held him down until he got back up on his feet. And then eventually, things happened and he left her for someone else. And the saga continues. Well, in addition to that, she feels as if she is losing it, have even contemplated harming herself, things like that, because of this heartbreak that she's going through. So I just want to give some words of encouragement, and I want to ask those of you who may have experienced heartbreak and maybe you're in the process, God have given you strength and you're maybe getting through it, or you have gotten through it completely. If you would give some words of encouragement in the comment section, if you choose to. All right. So she wanted me to talk about if I've experienced this and what did I do? Well, how did I get over it? Because she feels like I'm so strong and she just doesn't have the strength and she's so weak. So I just want to talk about a few things. First thing first is, I always say this, I believe God gives us certain strength and certain weaknesses, right? I don't know anybody who's strong in all areas. So yes, I have great strength when it comes down to purpose and calling, right? Getting things done, doing things and seeing the fruits of my labor, things like that. So my strength is there, right? If I see it, if I want it, it's mine, unless God says no, right? Okay, that's a strength of mine. On the flip side, one out of several weaknesses that I have is I'm very, very sensitive, extremely, extremely sensitive. I'm an empath, right? So when it comes down to heartbreak, when it comes down to my feelings, I'm really not strong in that area. I'm going to be honest. I'm not. And that could be also partial reason on why I am so protected and guarded into the people that I allow into my life and how much access I give people to my life in the sense of strangers, right? Wanting to pry and ask certain questions because, again, I'm so guarded and protective over the things that God have blessed me with. So I'm not strong in that area. So I'm with you here. However, I have to be honest and transparent because that's just who I am. Okay, so I've never had the heartbreak what you're experiencing, right? Because it's one thing to break out with the person and you're hurt just because it didn't work out, or you're hurt because they cheated, right? Which I've experienced that. So the point I'm making is I've experienced being hurt in a sense of being cheated on, or in a sense of people just were not authentic and didn't keep their word, or they were attempting to be someone that they weren't. And then when all the truth came out, it made me realize like, wow, this person was never, ever even solid, right? But I've never experienced the breakup where the person leaves you for someone else, or they leave you and they no longer want you. So it's like that abandonment. They go and there's no closure, there's no nothing, and you're just dangling here with a broken heart because they left you. I've never experienced that. But I heard from several people that it feels like death. Meaning you're grieving it, and it feels like you're grieving a death. And I've grieved a death, and I'm not comparing the two, but it will drop you to your knees. It will. And this is the time you have to be very careful, because what Satan will do, he will attempt to isolate you, right? Because you're already going through it. So if you have people around you, they're going to pour into you. They're going to, keep giving you words of affirmation or confirmation. So what he will do is he will attempt to isolate you. He will shut these people off from you, right? Let's just say you're going through a really rough night and you call one of your girlfriends and they don't answer. Satan's going to make you feel like, oh, they don't want to be bothered with you. You just leave everybody alone. This is your thing. Where that friend could have very much well been in the middle of cooking. So please be very, very mindful about isolation during this time. Be very mindful about the downloads that you receive. When he places something in your spirit, boom, you have to speak against that thing. When he says something like, oh, you're not good enough, that's why they left you, because the other person is prettier, and you've always been ugly, you always did it, and you're never going to be anything, and you're going to never ever get over this. Boom, you're a liar. You're a liar. You get back to the pits of hell. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ said, I am the head and not the tail. I'm down right now, but I will get up. Oh, you got me. You got me. You hit me hard. But when I get up, I'm going to bust your head. You got to speak to him like that. You can't play with Satan, right? You can't play with Satan. This is the time you have to be gruff. You cannot play with him, because he's going to drop all kind of stuff in your head. And granted, your spirit is broken, right? There's no doubt about that. But you got to be very strategic, because he is strategic. So again, it's about being intentional by recognizing what is he downloading to you. So when he's telling you to harm yourself, you never get out of that, all that stuff. First of all, that's a season. It's a season. And who knows what the next season will bring? Who knows? God could potentially, I don't know, bring this person back, right? He let that person go, and he's going to let him go. Go bump your head a few times. Go let the world drag you. Go out here and realize that I'm rare, and that there's a small, very small percentage of chicks like me, right? You're telling yourself that, right? So let them go bump his head a few times. Sometimes people gotta learn, right? Let them get dragged. They gotta learn, right? And so who knows? God may bring this thing back in next season, but here Satan's telling you, going off yourself. And now the very same thing that you can't get off the floor about is potentially just needed to be reshaped by God and transformed by God. And God may, all caps, may bring it back together. Who knows? Maybe God will never bring it back. And guess what? Got a whole husband for you. Because I do recall now you saying that it was your boyfriend / fiance. That could potentially not even be the husband God has for you, right? Maybe you haven't even met your husband yet. And this man is 20 times better than this one. And when you meet the new one, it's like, what was I thinking? Listen, I'm sure a lot of people can vouch for that. I know I can. When you finally meet who is for you, and you look back and you be like, what was I thinking? Dude, you had a whole, and I was what's over you? I'm sure a lot of people can vouch for that, men and women. So with that being said, God potentially has someone for you who is so much better, and you're going to laugh at the people that you even entertain or allowed any access into your life. But how would you know either or? How would you know if God is going to potentially bring your fiance back in a different season, a renewed person, or even have someone better for you? How would you ever know either if you harm yourself? What I've learned still learning. A lot of times the things that feel like punishment and like torture, and we feel like, we're being punished, is really God removing things to give you better, to bless you. And we don't even realize it until that stripping of the thing happens. And then when you get to the other side, which is a process, you look back and you be like, wow, I didn't even realize I was in bondage. I didn't even realize that I was undervaluing myself to even allow someone to treat me like this. Like, it's things that God is trying to give us for us to upgrade. But in the process of it, it feels like torture. But many people don't even get to know that there's so much grace and peace and happiness and freedom on the other side because they decide to tap out. So Narcissist, I've never experienced the heartbreak of someone leaving and never wanting it, right? Complete opposite. But I've experienced someone using a person as pawn. Okay. Now, in different scenarios, narcissists are known for this, right? It could be their children. It can be whatever. So it can be a sense of, let's just say you dated someone who had children. And when you're with someone for a long time, those children you really like love those children, right? So it could be someone you dated with children. It could be someone who you have children with yourself, right? Just wherever, get in where you fit in. But sometimes people, especially narcissists, they will use the child as pawn. They dangle it over your head, meaning, okay, if you leave or if you don't do what I say or you cut me off, then you're just not going to see the child. Even though you may have been very, very well involved in that child's life. What do you call your bonus mom? You are a bonus mom or a bonus dad. And the person who's dangling that child knows how much you love that child and how much the child loves you, but they will be selfish enough not to even consider that they're hurting their own child, and then they're dangling the child over your head. That happened to me. So for a very long time, I stayed and allowed this person access to me just because I know they had that leverage over me. And I know I could not have removed myself from the situation on my own. Even though I had heard from God to do so. But see, what happens is many times what God will do, he will come in and boom, he will interrupt it for us because we can't do it. There are certain things our flesh just does not have the strength to do on its own. So you will hear from God and God will tell you, hey, leave or remove this or remove them. And you've heard it. And then maybe even you tried, but your flesh eventually gives back in. And God knows you're struggling. So then what will he do? He'll come in and allow that person to leave you. I'm a person, like I said, I'll get confirmations after confirmations, and I'll know that it's God, but finally God will get to a point where there's no question. There's no question. It's almost like, okay, you keep making your head hard, so now I'm going to come down hard on you, right? So I'm the person, my obedience level is so great, but with a couple of things, including this particular thing, he came down hard. Like, listen, I'm tired of playing with you. Okay. Either you're going to let your heart break one time. I'm going to give you grace to get over this heartbreak. Or you're going to miss the whole destiny. Because I can't take you further. I can't take you into destiny. I can't continue to give you the things that I have for you. And you have a person hanging something over your head. That's bondage. My children don't move in bondage. That's bondage. Not only is it bondage, it's dangerous. Because what will happen is, if you're not careful, you will start idolizing something, right? And it's not about just idolizing material things. No. You can idolize a person because if God says it's time to move, it's time to move. But if you're going against what God is saying, you're making this person your God. You're idolizing the person in the situation because you've heard God tell you to move away. So once I got that firm conviction, because I've ignored several and then tried on my own and kept going back and just didn't, then he hit me hard. He hit me hard. And there was no going back. There was no going back because God will show, sorry guys, God will show you how, and this is once you get tapped in, meaning once you get through the heartbreak and you start to get to the other side, because it will be a process, right? But then it will become a process because you're going to grieve. I mean, I cried for days because I knew his mind was made up, right? So you're going to go through this process where you grieve. Sis, if you need a month, 2 months to grieve, do what you do. But once you just don't stay there, right? I said 5 days because I'm just, by nature, I'm a very determined person. Meaning you hit me, listen, you got me. I ain't gonna lie, you got me. But I'm not going to stay here, right? So I'm a very determined person by nature. And I know some people are not. Some people, when they get hit very hard, they have a very hard time getting up. So I'm very aware of that. Right? So this is why I say if it takes you 2 to 3 months, you have to take the time you need to grieve, but just don't stay there. And once things start to get better, God will start to give you clearer downloads because now you can hear. Your grieving process is over. You're still hurt, but your grieving process is over. Now you can hear him. And he will start to tell you why he did it. He will tell you, I had to free you. You didn't even realize you were in bondage. You didn't even realize this person was playing tug of war with your heart. You don't even realize this is why your emotions are always all over the place. This is why you don't have a peace of mind. This person is using things or using themselves to control you. I'm not playing those games. Another thing that you have to factor in, because I hear a lot of people say this when I have conversations with them, if they, like you said yourself, and I trust me, I get it, right? But I'm going to hit it from a different angle, right? You say things like, oh, well, I had their back when they were down. I did this. I took them in when they were this. I did that, this, that, right? I feel you. That's me too. Because again, whoever you are, if you're in my life, I give everything, right? So I feel you there. On the flip side, what I've learned a long time ago is this. When you take people in like that, or you're helping, or you're pouring into them like that, see, when you're doing it from a genuine place, you're not even taking notes. And I'm not saying that you're taking notes. You are making a point, and I get your point 100%. But one thing that I've learned, only because I've experienced it all my life, because I've always been a giver. I've always been a server. I mean, always, since childhood, seriously. I was the girl, and I lie to you not. This is proven facts. I've been the girl in elementary school on the schoolyard who the popular kids wanted to accept me in their group, but I found myself somewhere in the corner with the children who may have holes in their shoes and they were bullied, and I took them under my wings, right? I've always just had that type. God have always had me set apart like that. And then on the flip side, it allowed me to be misunderstood because it's almost like, well, wow, you look like the popular girl, or you are the popular girl. So why are you like hanging out with the people that's being bullied and teased, like the kids who are maybe in learning disability and like. So I've always been misunderstood because, again, I'm not what I look like. But God just made me very unique. So I've always had a pure heart. I've always given importance to people, etc., etc. And I stand here today and tell you, without a doubt, I know that's why I'm so blessed. Not blessed in some of the ways that some other people see it, but blessed. Because see, when we move authentically, God calculates. God take notes. So some of the things, sis, that I'm sure if you can look past this heartbreak right now, I'm sure there are areas in your life that God has blessed you. You may be somebody who, because what I've realized about blessed people, it's not that you don't ever hit down seasons, right? It's just that you always get up. So every time you fall, you get up. Every time you fall, you get up. You know what? Some people, when they fall, they stay there. Like they never kind of like come back from that. But with blessed people, yeah, you take some hits now. Let's not get it twisted. But God always open a door. He just constantly blesses you because your heart and your motives was pure. So what happens is people become entangled in the fact that I had your back when you was down. I look out for you when nobody else would. See, if you lock in on that, and I get it, right? I get it. Trust me. But I don't get locked in on that. I just see it as, you fool. You fool. Do you know how many loyal people are in the world? Do you know how many people will have your back when you're completely down? And you want to mess that up? Okay, so keep living. Keep living, because you want to realize how rare I was, right? Okay, I see it from that point, but I don't get locked in as in you owe me because I did this. You owe me. No. You don't owe me anything. Not when you're moving from heart. Not when you're moving from purity. You don't owe me anything. God repays me, and I'm not even doing it for God that repays me. It's just reciprocity. So many times, the way you bless a person, the person, most times, if not all, the person themselves are not the person who blesses you back. I mean, maybe they can be, or maybe it is sometimes, right? There's always an exception to the rules. But from what I've experienced, most times the blessing come back from God in a completely different way. All right, I had your back and look out for you. I done this for you and this is how you treat me. All right, cool. You good? Because boom, God just opened a major door and you're going to see it. You're going to see it. You're going to see it. And when you see it, you can't come back. So I think it's important for us to understand that when you're constantly seeing it as, I did this for you, that's going to keep you further locked in bondage. Because it's almost like you want them, you yearn for them to just be grateful. Some people just don't even, they just don't get it, sis. They don't get it, right? You just want them to understand what reciprocity is. And you just want them to be loyal like you are. They're just not you. It took me a long time to understand that I'm cut from a different cloth. Sis, you're cut from a different cloth. How many people are going to sit there and hold somebody down in down seasons, right? You're rare. So God is going to bless you. But in order for God to bless you, you got to get through your grieving process first. You got to stop trying to get it back. You got to get to the point where that conviction from God is so firm, to the point that either God, you know God is freeing you from bondage, that God has a whole due season for you, and you're going to have to be determined and intentional not to keep going against what God is doing. The more you're going against it, because you're moving in flesh, and I get it, right? Trust me. No judgment here, I promise you. I get it, but I'm telling you, you're going to delay your process. The bondage will continue. Your disobedience is going to cause God to take his hands up off of the situation. And now you got to figure this thing out on your own. And before you know it, Satan slips in either more and more, downloading stuff into your spirit. You got to be very, very careful. And finally, sis, when you get over all that stuff, over the grieving, right, over the heartbreak, the dropping to your knees, the tears, the snot, whatever you got going on, because I feel it as I speak. And again, I've been there, not from I've been there. But now, the freedom, the art of being free from bondage. We don't even be knowing we're in bondage until God frees us. That's the crazy part. You just think it's life. You're sitting here emotionally all over the place. One day you're happy, the next day you're crying, the next day they're holding something against you. Now you're angry, you're taking it out on other people. All this whirlwind of foolishness, all because we are allowing a person that kind of power over our lives. Why are we putting people in front of God? It's never intentional, right? It just, we're human. But a freedom, sis, will come. And when that freedom comes, you will start to see how God will move in your life. God will start to bring things in your life that will blow your mind that you never even knew existed. Healthy people, healthy relationships, right? Fulfilling relationships. But he can never bring that in when you got a whole person that either you have a soul tie with, or it's a narcissist, especially because narcissists are it's a whole demonic spirit, honey. So God is not going to be bringing none of his blessings up when you have a whole demonic spirit. So you're trying to bring darkness into light. Narcissists they're literally dark spirit. They're demonic dark spirits. And this is why I tell people too, a lot of times people want to just call everybody narcissist. I think that word is so overused because I don't think some people really know what a narcissist is. They feel like if they got a man who's lying and cheating and he's playing reverse psychology, he's a narcissist. Honey, narcissism is a spirit, a dark one that will take your mind. Not just somebody lying and playing reverse psychology. People do that all the time. Some people are just liars. Some people are just good at reverse psychology. Some people are just good at being selfish. But narcissism is a spirit that can take your mind. So that battle has to be fought in the spiritual realm by following every step that God gives you to follow. Because I'm a firm believer, you can't be a narcissist in the flesh. These people will take your mind. You will be in somebody's cuckoo house. So, sis, the things that God will have for you is going to blow your mind. So get up off of that floor. Open those blinds. Go wash your face. Go put your lashes on. Right? Call some of your friends. I don't care who. If they don't answer, call them back, sis. Right? Call them back or text them like, hey, I really need you right now. I'm going through something, and watch how quick they call. But see, Satan got you sitting here pulling back from people, making you think that nobody wants to hear your story. You're the only one going through heartbreak. He's going to put all these little happy marriages all up in your face. Get yourself up. Get around some people who can pour into you. However you pour into read your word, listen to recordings, listen to worship songs, whatever is go in nature, whatever your thing is to get your spirit filled back up so you can hear from God. God will tell you how to move, when to move, how to do it, when to do it, what not to say, what to cut off, what to change, what the boundary. He'll tell you. But the beautiful thing is because now that you're in alignment, you have a grace that's going to make it real smooth and easy. See, it's hard now because you're trying to move and you're out of alignment because you're being disobedient. Because you said he told you to fall back, right? And honey, I promise you, my God, the freedom. If any of you ever dealt with a narcissist, and you're like over that, like, right, like, which is a hell of a process. It is what it is. A hell of a process, right? But you finally free yourself from that thing. You can vouch for the peace and the freedom of the bondage, the yoke, the spider web. Get your process started, sis. Because the things that God has for you will blow your mind. It's better than what you could imagine. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.